The Grand Hotel on Michigan's famous Mackinac Island. It's been known as America's summer place since it opened in 1887. The famous Esther Williams swimming pool, as it's been called since 1947, is located directly in front and slightly below the iconic front porch of the hotel. When the pool was originally installed 100 years ago in 1920, it was known as the Paul Bunyan Pool, so named because there was an identical slipper-shaped pool in Traverse City. And legend has it the famous giant lumberjack traveling north first stepped on Traverse City and then on Mackinac Island, leaving his gigantic footprints, which of course were made into pools for all to enjoy. Of course, now it's better known as the Esther Williams Pool. That's because in 1947, the famous actress and record-holding competitive swimmer starred in what they called an aqua musical alongside Jimmy Durante and Johnny Johnston, titled This Time for Keeps there. What would it be like if you were the concrete contractor providing the foundation modernizing an American treasure like this? How do you pour and form between 11 and 1,200 cubic yards of concrete on an island composed almost entirely of boulders, ranging in size from around 15 inches up to 2 feet, in the middle of the Straits of Mackinac in the dead of an Arctic-like winter, with your only access being by ferry boat? Streeter Brothers, Inc. from Burton, Michigan is doing just that. They'll have 7 months to complete the Herculean task before reopening in time for Memorial Day 2021. And we'll be there with them, updating their progress with videos on this and other websites. Keep checking back to see how Greg and Joe Streeter and their crew work in daunting weather conditions and solid frozen ground as temperatures plummet and winds pummel. On Labor Day 2020, the 100-year-old pool closed and was drained for the last time. In recent weeks, Streeter Brothers has begun the demolition of the pool and structures around it to begin the grand improvements which will ultimately lead to a grand reopening of the pool and brand new pool house in time for Memorial Day. This is where things stand right now. We'll be checking in and updating Streeter Brothers' progress over the next 7 months. Keep coming back as we continue our deep dive rehabilitation of a Grand Lady's 100-year-old slipper. When they first were contracted to pour the concrete for the massive rebuilding of the Esther Williams Pool and Pool House, Streeter Brothers, Inc. of Burton, Michigan were told they wouldn't be allowed to bring their larger equipment to the island until after it closed for the season, November 1st. But the first week in October, the Mackinac Island City Council gave approval for one ready mix truck and a concrete pump truck to be brought over to the job site. Taking advantage of this, Greg and Joe Streeter and their crew were able to accelerate the pouring of more concrete while the weather is still more or less cooperative. This also allowed the guys to make a trip home for Halloween and to vote in the election before returning to the now all but deserted island. When Greg and Joe Streeter and their crew returned November 4th, they started forming the last section of building foundations, a task made much harder due to the very steep slope they were forced to work on. Still, the work was finished November 9th, a full 6 weeks ahead of schedule. Blustery conditions on the 6th through the 8th made this part and the placing of the re-steel in the new pool floor area challenging. The new pool floor is going to be poured in 3 different sections, utilizing about 85 cubic yards of concrete. Joe Streeter and his crew made the first pour on the 10th and the second on the 13th. Before that, on November 7th, the concrete wall panel forms arrived on the island, allowing Streeter Brothers to begin forming the pool walls for the large pool on the 11th. The large pool walls will be poured in 5 different sections during 4 different pours. The first pour is expected November 21st, and if all goes well and the weather cooperates, the large pool work is expected to take about 2 months, with 2 additional whirlpools taking about a month each. That is, as long as the weather gods continue to shine on Mackinac Island and the Grand Hotel. The famous gales of November have already been felt, and there's no telling what challenges lie ahead. When we last left our intrepid Streeter Brothers Inc. heroes, the concrete wall panel forms had arrived on the island. And they were getting ready to pour a major part of the floor, too. Well, the weather has been uncharacteristically cooperative, and that has allowed Greg and Joe Streeter and their crew to pour the largest section of the pool floor. On November 20th, 75 bags of concrete, totaling over 56 cubic yards, were poured, and the first pour for the new pool wall was completed the next day. Looking at the job site, it's hard to imagine how this will all be complete in time for Memorial Day, especially considering northern Michigan's well-deserved reputation for long stretches of really nasty winter weather. But, knock on concrete, as you can see, so far Mother Nature has been kind. Still, this is a massive pour, again 56 cubic yards, and would normally take quite a while. Fortunately, Streeter Brothers' patent-pending Go Fast technology conquers all, as you can well see here. Now that's Streeter Fast. For the week of Thanksgiving, 6 crew members headed back to Burton to work on various other Streeter Brothers projects, including Greg, who used the time to stop into his office and catch up on dreaded but necessary paperwork. In spite of there being very few people left on Mackinac Island, COVID-19 restrictions were once again put into effect at the Grand Hotel, closing the employee dining room there and forcing each contractor to pick up food for their own crew and then feed them in their assigned eating area. For the Streeter Brothers crew, this ended up being the Gazebo Bar building right next to the pool, and this gave the guys a great place to throw a birthday party for their coworker Jerry Brett, celebrating his 54th on December 3rd.
Happy birthday, dear Jerry. Happy birthday to you. Blow 'em out.
Happy birthday, Jerry. Now get back to work. And they did, pouring the second concrete wall as planned on December 4th. In addition, they poured 6 very large piers under the existing deck for a new stairway, and they're now forming wall pour number 3, the largest wall pour in the pool, scheduled for December 12th. Meanwhile, the underground plumbing and electrical in the building additions is nearing completion, and hopefully those floor slabs will be poured by the end of the year. Well, it's the holiday season, and that usually means snow, and the Streeter Brothers crew working on the new pool complex at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island want a white Christmas as much as the rest of us. But before they head home for the holidays, they have to work through the first snowstorm of the season on the island. That came on December 12th, dropping 6 inches on the project site. Not a big storm by northern Michigan standards, but it still creates logistical challenges when your job is pouring, forming, finishing, and curing huge amounts of concrete that will have to hold thousands of gallons of water for many years to come. Of course, the Streeter Brothers crew is up to the task, with the assistance of ground thawing and concrete curing heating technology. Hundreds of feet of hose pumping hundreds of gallons of heated glycol solution does the trick, and the largest wall pour of the project takes place on schedule during the small storm on December 12th. Then finally on December 15th, Greg and Joe Streeter's crew finished forming the last 2 sections of the exterior pool walls. The next day, they were able to pour a few smaller sections and poured the basement slab that'll house the pool mechanical equipment. Meanwhile, the family whirlpool floor took several days to prep and place the resteel, and the concrete floor was then poured on December 17th. This will be the last pour for 2020 on the pool. Streeter Brothers will return to the island 2 days after Christmas to pour concrete inside the Grand Hotel laundry room, and that'll take 3 days to prep and pour. So the gang cleaned up the pool area, organized and covered their materials just in case they got another snowstorm, and everybody left on Friday, December 18th. As we head out of 2020 and into 2021, it's probably a good time for us to get acquainted with the rest of Greg and Joe Streeter's crew. We'll let the stars introduce themselves.
Joe Streeter, Streeter Brothers, Davidson, Michigan.
This is Jerry, I live in Mammoth. Joe Patron, I live in Burke.
Rocky Gomez, Burton, up here working Mackinac.
Hi, my name is Robert Moss. I'm Morris.
My name is Joey Phillips, Lansing, Michigan.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hi, Greg Streeter here with Streeter Brothers Concrete. We are proud to be one of the subcontractors renovating the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. I would like to thank all my employees for all their hard work and dedication on this project. I hope everyone has been enjoying the series of videos. At this time, I would like to wish everyone a Happy New Year and stay tuned for more videos to come.
After a short Christmas break, the crew from Streeter Brothers, Inc. of Burton, Michigan had to return to Mackinac Island on December 28th to work inside the hotel laundry room renovation project, enlarging the first 4 of 6 interior piers with the re-steel installed on the 28th and then poured on December 30th. Then the crew caught the last ferry, leaving the island for a very rough boat ride in 4 to 6 foot waves back to St. Ignace. After New Year's celebrations back home, the gang returned to the island with 5 snowmobiles and other needed equipment. Then they went right back to work, prepping the last 2 interior laundry room piers to pour later in the week. On January 6th, Greg and Joe Streeter and their crew started to tie re-steel and form about 150 feet of the 18-inch wide, 30-inch high bench seats inside the pool. And on January 7th, they tied re-steel and formed the first of 3 sets of steps being built into the pool. They then finished the first week of January by installing re-steel and started forming the first section on the retaining walls for the family whirlpool. Streeter Brothers took delivery on the island of over 400 bags of concrete during December. This necessitated a need for a 3rd ground thaw machine to keep all those bags dry and warm. Meanwhile, people have been asking Greg what kind of meals the world-famous Grand Hotel staff is preparing for all the construction workers. Here you see some of the over 300 meals prepared every day, including breakfast, lunch, and dinners of steak and shrimp, chicken on rice, and barbecue ribs and jalapeno poppers. You know, the kind of stuff you typically see served on a construction site. Maybe we should start calling them the Eater Brothers. Well, the deep freeze finally hit Mackinac Island for the second half of January, but undaunted, the Streeter Brothers Inc. crew is hard at it. After prepping for several days, they poured the largest section of seat bench and the first set of steps in the large pool. The next day, they poured the retaining walls surrounding the family whirlpool and the last section of seat bench in the large pool. Work on the family whirlpool began on January 14th and was somewhat challenging as tying re-steel and forming small radius walls up against the new retaining walls tested the crew's skills. But true to form, and thanks to their years of experience, Streeter Brothers made it happen. The frigid straits of Mackinac, northern Michigan weather the guys are working in necessitates all the ground thaw equipment being used around the clock. And with the other construction equipment being used, they found themselves needing more diesel fuel delivered to the island. Webster & Garner oil and propane of Clio and Houghton Lake came through, and on January 15th, a Webster & Garner delivery driver loaded his truck with over 2,000 gallons of off-road diesel fuel and made the trip over on another very windy day. In less than an hour, he filled their fuel storage tanks at the docks with over 1,725 gallons of fuel and was on his way back to St. Ignace. While the Streeter Brothers crew was waiting for inspections on the family pool, work was started on the adult pool waterfall foundation. Foundations were formed and re-steel installed January 18th, and the footing was poured the next day. The crew was then able to pour the family whirlpool walls the day after that, Wednesday, January 20th. And on Thursday, they poured a section of retaining wall in the back of the new restaurant building and prepped a section of concrete floor in the new bar and kitchen area. On Friday, 28 cubic yards of concrete was poured in the bar and kitchen area. That makes 4 days of pouring concrete on Mackinac Island in the middle of January. Even though they had a very busy and productive week, they still had time to celebrate another Streeter Brothers crew birthday on the island. Joe Streeter turned the big 4-0 on Friday, January 22nd. Greg Streeter got a cake from the hotel cook staff, but it didn't take the snowmobile ride from the hotel to the job site very well, as you can plainly see here.
Happy birthday, dear Joe. Happy birthday to you.
The final week of January and the first couple weeks of February were some of the coldest and windiest days of the season. But there's no slowing down for the Streeter Brothers Inc. gang. If anything, Greg, Joe, and the crew had to work even harder to get everything that needed to be done finished on schedule. The intrepid Streeter Brothers crew worked pre-dawn till midnight on several days to make it happen. On January 25th and 26th, they started forming the foundation walls for the adult pool waterfall and the retaining walls. And on January 28th, they stripped the forms from the family pool. Then a shelter was built over the entire family pool to allow the pool contractor to start working on the pool finishes during this coldest part of the season. And on January 30th, the massive washing machine concrete pads were prepped and the resteel placed and ready for an inspection. While the gang was getting all this work done during the last week of January, each day got windier and progressively colder, with low temperatures between 15 and 9 degrees and winds at 15 to 25 miles an hour. Then Groundhog Day, February 2nd, arrived, but nobody had any time to check and see if Punxsutawney Phil was predicting an early spring, because the crew had 3 areas to pour outside the adult pool waterfall foundations, a section of concrete floor for the electrical room, and the footings for the delivery ramps. On February 3rd, the washing machine pads were poured with connecting plumbing trenches. And on February 4th, they began forming a section of the interior wall in the large pool. But it'll take about a week before it'll be ready to pour. Then on Friday, Greg and Joe Streeter were notified that the last day for the delivery freighter to run to the island would be on Saturday, February 6th. Their next fuel delivery was supposed to be on Friday the 12th. So they called Webster and Garner, and after explaining the situation, they were able to get a fuel truck to the island and fill the fuel tanks with over 1,000 gallons of diesel. On that Thursday, February 4th, the temperature had uncharacteristically reached 41 degrees on the island, just before beginning the nosedive the entire country experienced, bringing frigid temps for the next week and a half. But on Friday, it was still a balmy 20 degrees when Greg's wife Kathy and Joe's wife Katerina and their 2 oldest boys, Joseph and Jackson, arrived. In spite of the plummeting temps, the boys spent time riding snowmobiles with their dad and grandmother, after which they all had an exciting announcement for Grandma and Papa Greg. Grandbaby number 8 is on the way, and it's a girl. That means Grandma and Papa Greg Streeter now have 8 grandkids, 6 boys and 2 girls. But as I previously mentioned, the temperatures were plummeting, and on Monday morning it was time for Kathy, Katerina, and the boys to get on the ferry to go home, or not. The ferry got stuck in the ice about a half mile short of the dock, so Grandma, Mom, and the boys had to take a short flight off the island to St. Ignace to get home. And as the coldest week of the year brought a mercury reading that averaged 7.5 degrees daytime, the crew formed and poured 2 sections of the delivery ramp walls. Meanwhile, the last section of concrete floor in the laundry was scheduled to be poured on Friday the 12th, but due to bad weather that also kept this narrator and his producer from making a trip to the island, the Sheboygan cement truck drivers couldn't get there. So the pour was rescheduled for Monday, February 15th, when over 45 yards of concrete was placed by noon and finished just after midnight. It's been a very busy couple of weeks for the crew from Streeter Brothers Inc. in Burton, Michigan, rebuilding the iconic 100-year-old Esther Williams pool at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. The week of February 15th started out with 0-degree temperatures, but these guys are on deadline, and there was much to do. On February 16th, they started prep work on the floor of the adult pool and spa. The next day, they tied the resteel there, and on February 18th, poured the 8-inch thick concrete floor. In the middle of those 3 days, on the 17th, Greg and Joe Streeter's crew had to solve a big problem. They needed an additional 8,000 pounds of rebar, and the boats weren't running because the straits were frozen over. So, 8 trips of a 14-seat passenger plane filled with over 1,000 pounds of rebar cut in half to fit, and the mission was accomplished. Of course, when you're on an island in the middle of the Mackinac Straits, nothing is that easy. Each load had to be cut, weighed precisely for FAA regulations, loaded, flown to the island, unloaded onto a dray, and then delivered to the job site and unloaded. All in a frigid day's work for these guys. The last week of February was snowy, windy, and cold, but the guys still managed to pour the last section of the delivery ramp walk on February 23rd, and on the 26th, the last section of interior floor in the mechanical room. Then, 2 days later, the crew formed the first section of terrace wall footings. The beginning of March saw a nice warming trend. Good thing, too, because there was much to do. March 1st and 2nd, Greg and Joe Streeter and company formed and poured the slide pier foundations. This is a critical and rather large structure to be building in the cold temperatures this time of year on the island, so Greg has a tradition of bringing luck to the job by putting some money, usually coins, in the foundation. However, a lack of coins available necessitated a slight adjustment. Well, like he says, you gotta spend a buck to make a buck. Thursday, Streeter Brothers poured the stairway walls and slide pier foundations at the pool building and formed the last section of interior wall in the large main pool. Then the next day, they poured that last section. And on Saturday, they started forming the pool edge and concrete cap to be poured later in the week. This finally gave your narrator and your producer a chance to fly over from St. Ignace and talk with the crew.
Well, this is gonna be the top of concrete, so then once we fill this with concrete, we'll vibrate it, and that shape of it will form right to the concrete.
And it'll have this.
Yeah, that cantilever right over top. Probably maybe after 7-8 hours, we actually got to come through, break this off, and we got to actually finish practice, all this concrete here, rub it all out and everything.
All right.
So this form system here is going to go around every single pool, anywhere where there's a live edge, anywhere people are going to touch. This is going to go on adult pool, family pool, and then this here.
All of the pools that we've been talking about. What an incredible responsibility you guys have here. You're rebuilding. This was, I don't know if you realize this, the second national park. This Mackinac was the second national park in the country. They later given to, of course, the state. But this treasure here at the Grand Hotel is history, and you guys are working on history. What does that feel like to you?
We're proud of it. I mean, we work on a lot of unique projects like this all around the state, and this is kind of what we specialize in. Projects that are really unique. It takes a lot of time from me and Greg and our crews to it's difficult work, and it's like time consuming. There's a lot of fine details, and it's just a lot of preparation to do a project like this. And this, outside of this one, working on the island in the middle of the winter, where there's nothing like this going on in the country. This is hard.
Pretty incredible. Greg was telling me earlier they believe, and we're going to add this up at the end, but they believe that you're pouring more concrete here in the wintertime on Mackinac Island than has ever been done, ever
absolutely.
in the history.
Yeah.
And this island started to be a resort area in the mid-1800s, actually in the first half of the 1800s. So that's a long time. You guys are conquering that history and doing something here that's really special, because this is an improvement and a relook at the Esther Williams pool. The Esther Williams pool has been an iconic pool for a long time, but when it's done, it's going to be a modern iconic pool for now. And that's going to be real interesting, you guys. And all that you've just described, putting that cornice on around the entire pool area, that's fine detail work. So you're doing both, the 1,200 or whatever cubic yards and fine detail work.
Well, even we've been lucky with winter. It's been more or less mild up until the last few weeks, but we've actually been able to exceed what we thought we could do in a day, in a week, stuff like that. And actually, the way we do any job is we always progress on it. You know what I mean? If we do 100 yards a day, we'll do 105 next week. You know what I mean? So that's how we really are able to take on difficult projects. We'll figure out, our loophole and what we can do to keep on going, a little faster to push the schedule ahead.
Well, it's huge. Do you mind if we talk to some of your crew?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to go out and talk to some of them. All right. Thanks, Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Rocky from the Streeter Brothers Inc. crew here. How do you like it? 4 months working here on Mackinac Island.
5 months. I've been here 5 months.
5 months. How do you like it?
It's cool. It's being part of this big project.
Yeah. So this is it's history here. You're taking a 100-year-old icon of the state of Michigan, of the United States for that matter, and of Hollywood for that matter, and turning it around and kind of reimagining it. It's really going to be the same pool, but it's not going to be the same pool. That's got to feel great from a worker standpoint. What's it feel like at the end of the day?
It's pretty the stuff we do. It's cool. It's cool.
Obviously, you guys probably work all over the place around the Flint area and everything normally, but this is kind of a one-off in a way. You're out here on Mackinac Island. We're talking to Jerry, part of the crew here. What's it been like? You've been here now how long? 4 months?
Yeah.
About 4 months. What's it been like for 4 months living on the island? Cold. What do you do at night?
Take a shower. Go to sleep.
From the Streeter Brothers crew, we have Robert. What are you doing today, by the way?
Helping doing pool, sidewalk.
Yeah, so you guys are doing this cap on the sidewalls. It's going to really finish it off nice. You've been working in this pool, the big pool, how long now?
5 months.
I think it's been about 5 months. All right, we're talking to Ryan from Streeter Brothers. Ryan, where are you from first?
Burton, Michigan.
Oh, you out in Burton, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Graduated at Burton schools and everything?
Oh, no, actually, I graduated in Texas, Centennial High.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
You got out of there just in time, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
All right, this is Joe, one of our crew here for the Streeter Brothers Inc. at Mackinac Island, and you guys have gone from some real extremes. I mean, today is gorgeous. Now we're in it. Of course, we've got heaters in here, and we've got an insulated area or a cordoned off area. We've got plastic and tarps all around. But it is a pretty decent day with the sun shining in that. You have had some really god-awful weather here, haven't you?
Yeah.
How bad did it get?
It's cold.
I heard the temperature was down around zero with wind chills below zero.
Yes.
And on those days, it's a little tough to work with concrete, isn't it?
Yes.
What do you do?
Hope it don't freeze.
That's a good answer. Julian with the Streeter Brothers construction crew. Where are you from?
Lansing, Michigan.
Lansing. How'd you get hooked up with this bunch?
Craig knows my grandpa.
All right. Oh, okay. And how long you been working with them?
Not that long. I started a couple weeks before Christmas.
Oh, so this like
This
you
is my
just said
first
2 weeks
job,
before
yeah.
Christmas. They said, guess what? You're not going to be working at home today.
No,
In fact, you're not going to be working at home for about 7 months. You're going to be going with us up to Mackinac Island. What was your reaction to that?
I was with it. I used to come here as a kid.
All right. So let me ask you this. I know that there have been some really, really cold days, and you guys have been isolated here for a while. What do you do at night for fun?
Buy scratch-off tickets.
By the way, where are you from?
I'm from Mount Morris.
Mount Morris, okay. Robert from Mount Morris here with us from the Streeter Brothers crew on Mackinac Island as we continue to do the deep dive with the Streeter Brothers Inc. folks. They've been working up here in the worst conditions and, like today, the best conditions.
Yes.
You get a little bit of both here, don't you?
A little bit more.
Had you been here before this winter working here?
No,
This is your first time you've ever been to Mackinac Island?
First time.
This had to be freaky because you're going to an island where you're here and they don't have any cars, they don't have anything going on, and now I'm going to go up there and I'm going to pour concrete all winter? What was your reaction to that?
Brand new to me. I don't know. Oh my God.
I mean, it's got to be because there's nothing open.
No, there
There's
ain't nothing open.
one restaurant open, one grocery store open, and then you've got the kitchen here at the Grand Hotel that will serve you up whatever they've got handy. So it's kind of a pretty dreary existence, I would imagine. At nighttime, it gets lonely. Playing cards?
Nah, watch TV or
Want to play?
go sit with our neighbors.
How are you up or down?
I'm up right now.
You're up.
I'm up right now.
I think we found a new way to get our retirement money built up.
Up right now.
right.
Made a couple good Super Bowl bets. One on them.
Play very often? You like to gamble? Anyway,
Scratch off tickets. Sit there, scratch off tickets.
so have you gotten home for special occasions?
Yeah.
After Christmas?
New Year's.
Yeah, beautiful. So you go from right now, what they're going through in Texas is a lot like you guys have been living through actually the past 5 months here on Mackinac Island. What's it been like for you?
You know, I've been working, and sadly, I just had a baby myself, so
Congratulations.
appreciate it.
That's cool. How long ago now?
It's just 2 months.
Oh my gosh, and you're here. That's a little bit, you got to have a little split personality about that right now.
I mean, that's hard, but
So do you get back at all? I'm hoping that you
yeah,
probably
they're letting me go back once a week.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that
See my dog.
Oh, terrific. Well, congratulations on the daughter.
Thank you.
And is your wife pretty patient with you right
Oh,
now?
yeah.
God bless her.
Yeah, she's a loving soul.
Do me a favor. I'm going to give you my number. Have her call my wife. All right?
Okay.
All right. So this is kind of fun, isn't it? Seeing it in the wintertime.
I mean, it's rough. I've been working every day.
You guys are working really hard. And I can see it could be kind of dangerous with the wind and the snow and the ice, and then you're trying to pour concrete and you've got machinery and all of that. Have you fallen down at all? Have you hurt yourself at all?
I fall at least once a day.
Once a day.
At least.
Is there a quota? Do you guys keep
well.
track? Is there like a record set?
We should.
you know the history, right?
Oh, no, history.
Yeah.
History, so.
Yeah. It's pretty big stuff. Well, listen, it was great meeting you, Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck to you. Stay safe. You haven't fallen real bad yet, have you? I keep asking the guys how bad they've fallen because there's snow and blowing and ice and hills and holes. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right.
You doing all right?
I fell about 5 times.
No
That's it. Other than that, I'm all right.
No bruises? No broken bones, no sprains.
I mean, they got these drainage holes over there. I fell in about waist deep.
Did you really? You better teach the rest of these guys, because I've heard a couple of them had some issues.
Oh yeah.
Because it's got to be. I mean, you got to, for just a minute. If you take your eye off the ball for a minute around the construction site like this, it's got to be dangerous.
And then you got them drainage holes, and then the snow covers them.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't even see them.
Oh, so
you're
it's
just
like
walking and going to plug in a cord or
Yeah.
something, and then right there.
Drop right out of sight.
Right out of sight.
You had like a Wile E. Coyote.
yeah.
There's a lot of ice.
Yeah.
So you're riding around on a snowmobile on a buggy, getting horse crap flowing at you in the face. So I recommend wearing a helmet. You know?
And a face mask.
Yeah, face mask.
Yeah. So obviously you've got these warmers, the ground warmers. I know you're using more ground warmers than you guys have ever had to use before. I know there are 3 units, I think, in operation here to keep the ground warm enough for you to do the concrete work. Is the concrete, do you think you're going along at a regular pace, or do you think that you've been slowed down at all?
For here, it's a good pace.
We got
At home, it's slower than hell.
We've been up here. We were here 4 months ago when you guys started.
Yeah.
And we just now came up here now, and we're looking around and we're seeing an immense amount of progress. But we're also looking around going, 3 months, it's got to be open. Actually, a little less than 3 months. About 2 months and 3 weeks right now till opening, the grand opening here. And look at all that we've got left to do. And who knows what the weather's going to bring.
Rain.
You guys don't mind it though, do you?
Rain? I hate working in rain.
Well, you got to talk.
Yeah. Today.
So you've been doing a lot of snowmobiling?
Yeah,
Do you guys go out and really screw around on, or you just been using it for practical use?
just work pretty much.
Yeah. Because I know we rode around them a little bit today, and the snow is starting to go away. It's getting a little rough to ride on.
It's not
the
really
snow,
fun
though.
to ride around.
Nice.
Yeah, dude.
No.
And I can't wait to see how many treads they're going to have to replace after this
Yeah.
year. What are your living conditions like here? Where are you guys staying?
We're up in Woodville.
All right, and what is
Top
that?
of the hill.
All right.
It's like an apartment complex.
And is it comfortable? Are you guys? You got TV?
I got my own TV. I got my own little room.
All right. So that's not all bad.
No.
You guys play a lot of cards?
No,
I cannot. It's the fourth guy I've asked if they
No.
play cards and gamble. The group that I hang out with, that's all we would be doing right now. Somebody be out of money.
Right? No.
No, that doesn't happen. Huh?
No.
Oh, I'm amazed.
Go up there, eat dinner, and go to bed, and get back up and do it again.
Yeah. What time do you guys get up in the morning?
I was up at 3:30.
Yeah. There you go.
I got up and did my laundry.
You guys have so you guys have your own showers and stuff that you have to do. Outstanding. Because I was going to ask you if it's been 5 months since you took a shower. No. During those coldest days where you guys were kind of stuck here for like 3 or 4 days, there was no getting off the island, nothing coming through the island, nothing going on. Snow. I know you guys kept working through all of that.
Oh, yeah.
But what'd you do at night when there was nothing? I mean, literally nothing here.
I mean, hang out in your bedroom, watch TV.
You guys sharing rooms, or your individual
Joining rooms.
Adjoining rooms? Cool.
Yeah.
And still no
Share a
poker. Right?
bathroom.
You don't play poker either?
Oh, I love poker.
Oh, we got one. We got one.
Oh yeah, Texas Hold'em.
All right, brother. So you
blackjack.
should be setting up the games at
Oh,
night.
I know.
You should be the house.
They don't like to play all that stuff.
Nobody of these guys, I've asked them all. None of them play poker. I said, how can you be construction guys and not play poker?
Right. Take your money.
Exactly. This would be the place to do it, too, wouldn't it? Brother, it was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Congratulations on the baby.
Hey, I appreciate it.
All right, Robert. Thank you.
Yep.
Nice meeting you, man. All right, man. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Stay safe. Thank you, Joe. It's great meeting
Yeah.
you. Have a great one. Well, thank you, Jerry. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Man. Nice meeting you, man. I hope you get home soon. Grandpa Greg Streeter in the house here from Streeter Brothers, Inc. An incredible thing you're doing here up at Mackinac Island. This is history. I mean, do you ever think about that? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but this is a 100-year-old pool that is iconic in American cinema, iconic in the national landscape, and you've got the job of pouring God knows how much concrete to redo the whole daggone thing. What's that feel like?
Well, we're pretty fortunate to have the opportunity to do it. When I was first approached by it, the contractor in May, I told him no.
Oh, really?
And as the summer went on and we got different plans and the different ideas they wanted, we decided to give it a try.
See, I understood that this was one of those projects, I think you and I talked early on about it, that a lot of concrete contractors wouldn't touch.
No, I don't even know if they got any other concrete bids.
And why is that? What are the reasons that somebody might not want a job like this?
One, it's where it's located. That's one of the hardest issues to overcome. And the cost, you have to be confident in how you prepared your bids. Make sure you have everything covered.
Right. And you don't know what the weather's going to bring. You don't know what delays are going to be brought. You don't know what disasters are to befall you. And yet you bid the job courageously, got the job, and now this will be a legacy for you guys for many, many millennia to come.
Yes.
Congratulations. I mean, you represent Genesee County very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Greg Streeter, everybody.
Thank you.
On March 6th, after our visit with the Streeter Brothers crew in the last episode, they went right back to work finishing the prep work for the first pour of pool coping in the large main pool, and they began forming the concrete pool walls in the adult pool. These walls will take about a week to form and prep. After taking a much-needed day off on Sunday, Monday morning, Greg and Joe Streeter and the gang poured the first section of pool coping, and Greg was very happy with the way it turned out. The next day, the crew was able to pour the first section, about 150 feet of terrace walls and about 100 feet of terrace wall footings. But all work and no breaks makes for a grumpy crew, so they made sure to take a break and celebrate another crew member's birthday. Happy 52nd for Rocky Gomez on March 9th.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rocky. Happy birthday to you.
Cut that damn thing off.
The next day, Wednesday, was very wet and rainy, but Streeter Brothers still managed to form 3 very large piers for the slide foundations at the pool house building and continued forming the adult pool walls. The next day, March 11th, the rain was finally gone, but it was extremely windy, making it difficult, but the crew still managed to pour 3 slide foundations and finished forming the adult pool walls for a Friday pour. Then on Friday, they did pour those adult pool walls. This took several hours to complete because there's a whirlpool spa inside the pool. On the weekend, the crew formed more terrace foundations and terrace walls for a midweek inspection and pour. On March 16th and the 18th, they made 2 more pours on the terrace walls and foundations that were formed on March 8th. And some pretty good news. The weather is finally starting to warm up in the afternoon every day on Mackinac Island, and that, of course, should make the job just a little bit easier. It's been a very busy but productive 2 weeks for Greg and Joe Streeter and the crew from Streeter Brothers Inc. of Burton, Michigan. And that's good, too, because if you've been watching this project from the beginning since last fall, you know that we've been saying that everything would have to be done by mid-May. That was daunting enough. But Greg and Joe Streeter were told this week they must now have the ready-mix trucks and their concrete pump off the island by April 30th. That means they're going to have that concrete done 100% by the end of April, and not mid-May like we thought. We're now heading into the 7th and final month of Streeter Brothers Inc.'s deep dive as the concrete contractor for the huge rebuild of the 100-year-old Esther Williams pool at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island in northern Michigan. And all the hard work and the challenging conditions are beginning to take their toll on the equipment the crew uses to record their work. On March 23rd, the control panel for the drone camera quit working, and a new one coming from California wouldn't arrive on the island until after Easter. Thank goodness Joe and Greg Streeter have a GoPro camera they can rely on. If they could only find it. On April 7th, the GoPro went AWOL, complete with 3 weeks of video showing what the crew was up to. Now down to a smartphone camera, Greg Streeter will lead us on a tour of what they've been doing. On March 19th, while Greg was getting his first COVID vaccine at Rite Aid in Gaylord, Joe worked on coping and poured a wall foundation.
Over 200 foot of coping on the existing wood deck side.
While also pouring the long descending ramp entry into the pool.
Poured these foundations that these wall forms are setting on March 19th.
On the 26th, the transformer pad and delivery pad were completed at the back of the building. And on the 27th and 28th, a week before Easter, the Streeter Brothers Inc. crew formed and prepped the sidewalk on the pool deck. And then on the 29th, poured 200 feet of 3-foot wide light brown sidewalk. And when April 1st arrived, there was no fooling around as the crew poured over 60 bags of concrete for the spread footings of the terrace walls. And with that, the final countdown has begun. 30 days until the Streeter Brothers heavy equipment must be off Mackinac Island. Obviously, the team has to keep cranking. So on Good Friday, the delivery ramp was poured at the back of the building, a 60 by 10 foot patio was poured under the pool building deck, and this splash pad feature, complete with built-in sprinklers, was installed. Then, on April 7th, the team poured a very large set of steps into the adult pool, and 3 more wall sections were formed and ready to pour. The next day, the tall ramp and stairway walls were poured, as well as the last terrace wall foundations, leaving about another 200 feet of terrace walls to be formed and poured, which should take about another week's work. Also on the 8th, another stairway foundation was poured. And here's another feature of the updated pool area we think you're going to enjoy. The old wooden wall that blocked the view down the bluff of the Straits of Mackinac on the south side of the pool is now being equipped with large windows for a beautiful view from the pool deck.
That's how the trailer should look every day.
Well, there's just 3 weeks to go until Streeter Brothers must finish the concrete around the Esther Williams pool on Mackinac Island. So, on April 13th, after all the inspections were completed, the crew poured the last 200 feet of terrace walls using over 50 bags of concrete. The rest of the week was spent forming and pouring stairway wall and step foundations. And on Thursday, extra cement finishers were brought to the island to start pouring the over 10,000 square feet of colored sidewalks and over 60 colored concrete steps going down to the pool. The next day, Streeter Brothers started pouring the first section of pool deck sidewalks, finishing the second section on Saturday. And on that weekend, Kathy Streeter came to the island to start packing Greg's personal belongings to take back home. Over the last 7 months, that's added up to a lot of stuff. Also on that weekend, their daughter Katie, son-in-law Kellen, and 2 grandsons, Brantley and Brooks, came to the island to say hello and look at the project. After a quick tour of downtown Mackinac, Greg went back to work and Grandma and family walked around the island, ending up at Arch Rock. On April 19th, the guys formed the short stairway walls and poured most of them the next day. With only 2 weeks to go, April 21st through the 23rd, the crew formed and poured at a very fast pace. 2 large ramps, all the steps, and all the landings in the terrace area around the pool. And on Saturday, April 24th, the time was spent loading out equipment to take back to St. Ignace and haul back to Burton. Less than 1 week to go, and there's still a lot of concrete to be poured and finished. Check back. We're getting close. The April 30th deadline for Streeter Brothers to be completely done is approaching very fast, and the gang is going to have both ready-mix trucks, the concrete pump, and the skid loader and excavator off the island by that date. But there's still a large amount of concrete sidewalk and several sets of steps to pour in the pool area, as well as the pool coping in the adult pool, and the very large 18-riser set of steps at the back delivery ramp going down into the pool equipment room. But the Streeter Brothers Inc. crew was up to the task. April 24th and 25th, they formed the steps at the adult pool and 2 sets of steps at the top terrace walls. They also loaded several horse-drawn wagons with equipment to take down to the docks and ferry back to St. Ignace, where it will all be loaded onto the trailers to take back to the Streeter Brothers offices in Burton, Michigan. Then Monday, they poured the colored steps at the adult pool and terrace walls. After finishing those steps, that afternoon they started forming the dreaded steps behind the pool equipment room. The next morning, the crew formed the oval-shaped sidewalk at the grand stairway to the pool and poured it a couple hours later. That same afternoon, they had 8 steps formed at the pool equipment room, so they decided to pour them as well. Greg was worried about the forms holding up to the heavy weight of the concrete, and as he likes to do whenever he needs the concrete gods to smile on the team, Greg threw some change into the stairs as they poured them for good luck. Hey, it worked once before on the waterslide foundations, but not this time. The bottom step form gave way to all the weight of the newly placed concrete. So they had to shovel all the concrete out of the step forms, and after resetting the forms, shovel the concrete back in. Wednesday morning started out with some rain in the area, so the Streeter Brothers crew formed more sidewalks, hoping to get a break in the weather for an afternoon pour, and they did. They were able to pour 2 large sections of sidewalks by the new pool house and adult pool. By Thursday, Greg and Joe were feeling very good about finishing the concrete work by 6 o'clock Friday. They formed and poured the last section of colored sidewalk and the last 8 steps at the pool equipment room. It was looking very good for an early Friday finish. The last day came with just 2 items that needed to be formed and poured: the adult pool coping and a small set of steps going into the electrical room. Greg's wife Kathy came back to the island on Friday morning to help Greg move the rest of his stuff from his hotel room. That morning, they started placing the styrofoam coping pieces around the adult pool, but noticed that they were going to be short several pieces of coping. After checking all of the pool contractor's storage trailers, it was determined that the coping order was 1 box short. But after several phone calls, the pool contractor was able to find a box of coping in Minnesota. It was immediately put on a plane for Saturday morning delivery. So the Streeter Brothers crew formed and poured all the pool coping they could and the steps going into the electrical room. This left them with just a small pour on Saturday. On Friday afternoon, Joe was surprised by 2 longtime best friends from high school, Adam Gruel and Luke Carney, coming to the island to help Joe clean up and pack up equipment for the weekend. Both ready-mix trucks and the concrete pump truck, along with other equipment, were escorted off the job site by the Mackinac police to the other side of the island at British Landing so that it could be ferried off the island later that night. Any motor vehicle must be escorted by the police when operated on any road on the island. With 2 bags of concrete left to pour and no equipment to mix the concrete, they had to use the 1-yard mixer they started the job with back in October last year. And after 7 months of pouring 1,425 cubic yards of concrete, over 5.7 million pounds, and with 30 tons of re-steel, and using the pump truck 52 times, Streeter Brothers Inc. of Burton, Michigan, finished their work 6 hours ahead of their final deadline set 1 year before. Whew. Of course, the lack of a few pieces of coping was not the only problem they had that last day. Greg's electric trike was smashed by a runaway pallet of cultured stone. But with all this, Streeter Brothers still managed to finish on time. They spent Sunday morning cleaning up and got on the ferry about 11:30 that morning. Then Greg, Kathy, and 2 Streeter Brothers employees came back to the island on Friday, May 7th to pack up the last of the equipment and get it hauled off the island to return back to Burton. On Saturday morning, Greg and Kathy's daughter Katie and son-in-law Kellen came to help power wash the over 10,000 square feet of colored sidewalk and apply the concrete sealer later that day. And Greg and Joe had their pictures taken in front of the adult pool. By 3 p.m., they hooked up the last trailer of tools to a horse-drawn dray, and since they can't use the smashed trike anymore, Greg and Kathy hitched a ride downtown on the dray, taking in the very beautiful sights of Mackinac Island one more time. The new edition of the iconic Esther Williams pool at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island is all but complete. Keep checking back for the final picture of what will no doubt be around for another 100 years. Streeter Brothers Inc. of Burton, Michigan builds them to last. It's been a long 7.5 months since the Streeter Brothers Inc. crew from Burton, Michigan took on the gargantuan task that no one else dare try. Being the concrete contractor to rebuild a 100-year-old American treasure, the iconic Esther Williams pool at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, is a professional risk, but one the Streeter Brothers crew took on as a challenge. And now you can judge how well they met that challenge. On July 27th, Greg and Kathy Streeter returned to the island to show us how it all turned out. Remember how the site looked in October of last year? And in the dead of a northern Michigan winter? Take a look at us now. These were the steps that the crew had to pour twice when the bottom form gave way under the weight of the concrete the first time. Here's a look at the terrace area before and after. How do you like the new water slide? The new kids' pool. The adult pool. All those colored sidewalks. The wood deck and southern wall. The new water slide and water jet splash pad play area. Oops, 4 bags of concrete left over. Somebody over-ordered. The week of July 19th, a great surprise. Streeter Brothers Inc. was notified that they'd been nominated for a Michigan State Concrete Association Award for their outstanding work on the Grand Hotel Pool project. Greg and Joe will be meeting with the judges to show them all the interesting details. The award won't be announced until 2022.